Hello everyone, this is Mike Manjos coming to you from Watchbox Studios in Philly, back in Philly, and I have a special guest today, Alp from Langepedia, now in partnership with Watchbox. And we've got an awesome opportunity today to discuss the new introductions from Lange that came out at Watches and Wonders yesterday. So we're gonna go through some of the new introductions, we're gonna talk about where they fit into the brand, where the Lange is going and has been coming over the last couple of years. I think we all know how much I love Lange. Alp is the foremost expert in the world on Lange, and we're gonna have some fun talking about what they did yesterday and where we see it going forward. So Alp, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you.
It is an absolute pleasure to talk with you about Lange as well. So hello everyone, this is Alp here. This is the first time, but I'm pretty excited. So please excuse me for any accidental things that I might say.
Well, they have to edit me all the time, so don't ever worry about it. Now, we're gonna have great fun, and hopefully this will be the first of a regular series we'll do, kind of getting into the real weeds on Lange. So yesterday was a great day. Obviously, we all got up early to see Watches and Wonders, and obviously, right after I finished Rolex and Patek, my first pick is always Lange. And they did not disappoint. So why don't you start us off and kind of give us an idea of what you saw in Lange, and we'll talk through what they introduced yesterday.
So obviously, like they do for every year, basically, so to speak, they came up with, really, really nice and interesting stuff. And the Lange 1 Tourbillon, Lange 1 Perpetual calendar with the one that you were expecting in your market wrap anyways. So you hit the bullseye on that. I mean, that piece is just amazing, in both metals and in both colors. And other than that, of course, we have now the more romantic triple split, so to speak. It's not like quite an industrial as before. So now it's, pink gold with bluish hues. And, we're going to talk about it, but I like the blue on that one. It's quite different from the other ones. And obviously we have the silent stars. No pun intended, but we have the little Lange ones there. So quite to talk about, definitely.
A lot to talk about. So let's touch on the Perpetual first, because obviously I was expecting a Perpetual of some sort. Obviously it's a complication Lange needs to have. But again, Lange does this all the time to me, is they take what you expect and just take it to the next level. And I think that's by putting a Perpetual calendar in the Lange 1 case, and in that design is a completely different. Now, we know early on, I know Blumheim always wanted to do a Perpetual in Lange 1, and there was some technical challenges. And then a few years back, they did it with the Tourbillon. But now to see it in that, 41.9 millimeters, and I think the colors are awesome. So why don't you walk us through kind of that history and the challenge of doing a Tourbillon? I mean, not a Tourbillon, but a Perpetual in the piece.
Of course. I had the pleasure to walk into the manufacturer times for many times, and I had the pleasure to speak with some of the very old-time employees of the brand, and according to some of them, what they told me, as like just like you did, they told me that it was Blumheim's idea to incorporate the Perpetual calendar to Lange 1 right after Lange 1 Tourbillon came out in 2000. And the best, there are some complications that every watchmaker, working at the top of the pyramid has to excel at, like split seconds, perpetual calendars, repeaters, etc. So, Blumheim wanted to put it, but obviously, he wasn't able to see it. And then what I heard was the movement designers worked on it for quite an extensive time, but then they just said, this is impossible. So, they shelved the project for a couple of years. But I believe we all know what impossible means at Lange. It is just basically saying that we're going to come up in 10 years. And so, while the movement designers at the time retired the project, then they restarted it in 2008. And, after working with quite up and downs, as much as I heard, they finally came up with the watch in 2012 in the platinum case and with that silver dial, but with an addition of tourbillon as well. So, it was a tremendous watch. And I believe, it is one of the watches that the product development department at Lange is most proud of, because they accomplished something that, even could not being done in Blumheim's era. So that watch means a lot to them, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was also an amazing piece, because I remember when it came out, we were looking at it and we're like, the torque that they needed to turn the months and the tourbillon on the back. The only downside of it that I found back then was it was at a very high number. I mean, it was 300 and change, as I recall, which we were all like, wow. I mean, it's an awesome watch, but it was a big number, especially back then for a Lange.
Yes, it's. I mean, for the lack of a better term, it was bold, so to speak. I remember conversations in the forums back then at the purists, etc. People were kind of confused about its price as well, because it was $320,000 in platinum version, and it was not close, but it was more or less in the area of turbograph with the split seconds. Correct. And the tourbillon and fusion chain, etc. So people were quite baffled on how a perpetual calendar with a tourbillon on the back can demand for such a price. But then you know what happened in the coming years as well. They introduced the pink gold variants as well as the white gold variants, and that drastic price increase took up. And I believe it was in 2015 or 16, the gold variants became much more expensive than the platinum one. And
right.
that was
I always love when that happens.
Interesting development. And I remember in 2016 when they introduced the Datograph Perpetual tourbillon, it right. was the same price with the Lange One tourbillon Perpetual, more or less. And people right. were saying, how the hell is this possible? That one has the Perpetual calendar, the tourbillon, the chronograph. And on the other hand, you have this one. It was never, there, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, it was always, I think they missed it a little bit there, but again, still an amazing watch. But it does bring us back now to the new one, which, first of all, I love the coloring. I mean, the pink with the gray was always one of my favorites in Lange 1. I mean, I hated the fact that for a number of years, Lange got away from doing those cool colored dials. And now all of a sudden we got two in one batch. I mean, the pink gray is amazing, but that white gold salmon is the one that really hit me.
Yes. No wonder that it's limited, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
It's definitely a cool watch. It is, first and foremost, perhaps, it is what Lange does best. I mean, obviously they did it like 10 years ago. They came up with a perpetual calendar that doesn't look like any other one in the market. So when you look at it, it is Lange and it has no competition. That watch basically doesn't have, any lookalikes, anything that you can compare. So that's something. And now, with the removal of the tourbillon, and the watch is now just the Lange One Perpetual calendar with a much more accessible price. I mean, the watch is just a delight, so to speak. And I definitely agree with you on the color dials. I'm very much glad that they brought it back. And my only thing perhaps could be the lume on the pink gold version. But I've never been a guy who likes lumed hands or Lange ones, but tastes different, yeah? So
it is taste different. No problem. No, that's going to be a huge hit. I know that one's going to sell out easily and quickly. So it's awesome. All right, so let's swing into the second piece, which I think was the what we call the little Lange one. And I mean, just drop dead gorgeous. I mean, I can't believe how much press this thing's gotten.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it is also, not only the gold flux dial, but also for the first time they put star markers, on the hours and minutes.
I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. It is something that not many people would expect from Lange, but right. They just did it for a little Lange one, and it just transforms the piece to a whole another level.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's beautiful. I love those flux dials that they've done. They did the Saxonia, which we love. We got a couple pieces in the last month, and I mean, they are just drop dead gorgeous. And this one, I mean, I can't wait to hold it in person. I mean, obviously pictures are great, and these virtual launches do okay on getting you into the piece, but it's not the same as touching it in person. And I think the diamond piece as well, again, takes it to another level. Now, what do you think the market will be for these? I mean, one of my guys here was like, I would wear that. And I was like, really? At 36.8 millimeters, it's not for me, but I just think it's beautiful. But are there enough ladies who collect Langes who are going to appreciate this?
it's not just about the ladies, so to speak. So because I have a concrete data to share that, so to speak. So the little longer one, they introduced in 1998. And the reason for the introduction at 36.1 millimeter at the time, even smaller than these ones, I believe, they introduced it for the Japanese market, not for the ladies, but to, for all of the collectors there, etc. And then obviously, they made quite a lot of variations. They tried many things from the dart dials to mother of pearls to guilloche, whatever. But little longer one never got that an identity of its own, so to speak. Yeah.
Correct.
But now, with this aventurine dial, putting it on rather, wearable, at least for me, I would love to wear it. And when that with the star markers there, now that little longer one is something of an identity of its own, and it's not just a reduction of a longer one. It is something else entirely, and I believe it is just going to be hugely successful. That was a great launch.
No, I thought that was a great launch, and it's true. I mean, again, I'm always the big watch guy, so I like that 41.9 was perfect for me. A 36 to me would look silly on me, but I'd love to see you rock that watch. It's awesome. That dial is amazing, incredible.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, it is just as you said, the virtual conversations or some, press photos, they do good. But, for my years of experience, I know that a longer piece is best when it's held in hand. And I believe, they're just going to deliver that when you, put it on the wrist.
No, I think you're absolutely right. There's a feel and a sense you get of holding that watch that's amazing to me. Like, to my point, no other. I can't find that. I actually had that experience this week. I had my first Odysseus steel come in, and it was the first time I had it on my wrist. And it's a total different experience than the pictures were for me.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
I mean, I remember the conversation as well, and I'm sure you do as well. The people started to go against Odysseus when the watch was launched. There was a bit outcry, as you would expect. Right. But then the watch started to hit at the retailers, hit at the boutiques, and people were converted, so to speak. They said, "Oh my God, this is something different," And you're absolutely right, definitely.
All right, so the big dog now, the last one, the triple split. Now, I am chronographs and Lange to me is everything. Triple split is obviously a whole nother level. So why don't you talk about that one? And then we'll get into blue dials, because that was just genius, in my humble opinion.
Okay. So, I mean, the triple split is, for those who know at least a bit of, the mechanics, etc., is possibly the most technically, complex chronograph in the market today. And I mean, it just does something that, anybody else can. And it was like this, with the double split, and it is now with the triple split. And, obviously there are, certain, different area of expertise under the making of chronographs. For example, I believe we talked the other time that, Patek Philippe with 5959, with that, I mean, that's just amazing watch, and an amazing mechanism. And then, of course, the Vacheron's, current split-second chronograph with automatic winder outside of the, on the edges of the mechanism. I mean, those are just, different expertise areas. But when it comes to sheer complexity of doing things excessively, then you have the triple split. That's just is a statement. And, with the rose gold and blue dial, I mean, that is different. How different is, so to my liking, or, to my aesthetic understanding, triple split is a rather industrial, assertive, and an aggressive timepiece. It is, 43.3 millimeters in diameter just for your wrist, and then, the 15.3 millimeters in thickness. And it's just, and it is built on layers. There are different finishing in the base and in the band, and then the case base, etc. And it just looks industrial, So I believe it better, goes with white metals and monochrome dials like gray, for example. And now we have the pink gold and the blue combination, which is rather romantic. And my eyes just didn't accept it when I first saw it. And it looks way better on the wrist, as some friends just send me the pictures. But I mean, it is just a whole different offering than the white gold variant. And I'm sure it is going to have its very dedicated and passionate crowd. It's just like it.
Yeah, no, I love the triple split. I mean, first of all, double split's one of my favorite Langes. I mean, I just love that big chrono. It's a hockey puck to wear, but I love it. I mean, I think it's one of the most undervalued Langes that's out there, because if you understand what it is in comparison to a Patek or a Vacheron, the price is crazy. I mean, it's a value like none other. So I love that part of it, and I just love the beefiness and the size. But I've always been a sucker for blue dials with Lange, from the early Lange ones to when they did the releases of all the series. Something about the blue that they've done always turned me on. I loved it. I saw this. And then seeing this in the rose, I thought it was spectacular and just such a different, unexpected. This is, again, going back to Lange showing me things that I did not expect them to do. I was with you. I figured they would have done something more industrial, a different metal combination, but I think it works amazingly well. And I know the original triple split, I mean, we got our first one a few weeks ago. It's incredible, and they really get swallowed up in the market. They've been super strong, because I think people do realize that it is probably the best of what Lange does, and is at another level than anyone's done or even thought to do, that you don't see anybody else coming in with double splits or triple splits. And the 5059 is, I love the fact that you brought that up, because it's a very cool watch. I've sold a couple of them. I love them. But it's not a real commercial watch because it's so small, and they went the other direction. And it's hard to appreciate. I can understand the technical challenges of doing such a complicated thing small, but I just think when you put them side by side, it just looks something totally different. And the triple split just really lights me up from that. So I think we're going to see a great response. I think the brand in general, I don't want to say it's on fire, but certainly in the last year to 18 months, the trajectory has changed dramatically.
It's quite obvious to me as well. I am getting messages every day about which watch, or do you know the production update of that one, this one, etc., etc. But I can say it has increased a lot in the prior months, and it's obviously for a reason. And I mean, I created this Langepedia thing to show more about Lange, to show more about what this brand is doing. And I thought they are criminally underrated in the market. And now in 5 years after that, I see that the people are now realizing more and more what Lange has done in the past. But not only that, by Lange introducing the triple split, the Lange 1 perpetual calendar in such combinations, they are showing even greater promise for the future as well. And I mean, that's just a delight for me to see, to be honest.
Well, it's incredible, and I think it's funny because you're right. I mean, 5 years ago when you started this, it was certainly undervalued, underappreciated. I remember going to Lange in the early 2000s, and nobody had heard of it, nobody understood it. Why would I want that when I can get a Patek? And then you had the years of people saying, oh, the secondary market isn't good. And now you look online, and especially in the chronograph families, the first gen chronographs are now taking off. Thanks for Mr. Dufour for helping us with that. But even now, the up-down has really strengthened, and now the high-end complications are really getting lit up. And I just think there's not that many out there. I wish we knew exactly how many, but we don't. But you go online, there's just very few in the market. People tend to keep them and love them as well, which is the other thing I see. The guys who I deal with who are Lange guys, they don't trade them. They keep them. They're like, this is my favorite. I want to wear this one. I'll keep the other one. And I love seeing that passion in the brand. And that's why we're so happy to have you with us, because I've got somebody else now I can talk Lange with. The guys here get sick of me because, I've taught them as much as I can, and they're like, I don't want to hear it anymore.
Now you have a responder on the other side of the world anytime you'd like to pick a phone and talk about Lange.
Exactly. I can wake up in the morning and start texting and talking Lange. But it's true. I mean, I think the Watches and Wonders overall, I think, I was very concerned with 40 brands being launched at once. I think that came true a little bit. I mean, I was yesterday afternoon, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't look at Panerai, I didn't look at Jaeger. Just catching up now to some of the other brands. But I think overall it was successful, and I think it'll continue to be successful. But I know, talking to some of my friends at Lange, that there's going to be more launches this year as well. So what do you think we might see the rest of the year now that we've digested these three?
I mean, I'll start. So obviously, there are a lot of conversations or rumors going on in the collector circle. And one of the foremost things that they have been talking about for some months is another lumen. So,
Right.
I'm not sure if we're going to see that this year or so, but, the Zeitwerk is discontinued. And so, as the rumors go, there's going to be another Zeitwerk like 2 years down the road. And I believe another Zeitwerk lumen, obviously the combination is quite clear for those who are into Lange Zeitwerk fans. And to mark the era, would be amazing. And I believe, they have a huge reason to do it. And other might be, this year's was launched in 2019. And as you say, it has an amazing trajectory going on. And, it is a brilliant watch. And so since it has been 2 years, I believe it would be reasonable to expect a update, on the model,
Right.
not on the visual perspective, but, an added complication I would expect perhaps in October 24th, as they have introduced the watch in 2019. So just a guess, don't quote me on that on anything.
No, I think that would be exactly right. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, we certainly need another lumen because, again, those are one of my favorite collections, and we could spend a whole show talking about those. That's the other thing, that you get one of those in person, and it's just a whole different animal. And the Odysseus, they're definitely going to expand that family. It's been very successful. Even the white gold one, which, less fanfare, but still trades very strong. And another complication is definitely the way to go. We need more perpetuals. I love these things.
Makes complete sense, because when they updated the dolograph up and down movement, from the previous generation, but they never done anything to dolograph perpetual since 2006. That watch just had bottom markers change, etc., but nothing on the movement. And it has been, I don't know, for 15 years now, and it is quite a long time for Lange to utilize a movement. So. And you're definitely right. You hit the nail on the head there.
I would be excited about that because, again, that's another one of my favorite combinations. I just think those are gorgeous. And we definitely will need a white gold gray on that for sure. We know we both love that one.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see what the future brings on that.
Exactly. Well, this has been awesome. I mean, I really appreciate it. I am so happy for Watchbox to be partners with Langepedia. It's been a dream of ours to connect with somebody who's such expertise. And to be able to share this with our community, because we have such a great community of collectors who just need the expertise, want to talk watches. You'll be hearing from lots of them, I'm sure, which is great fun. And I look forward to doing this on a regular basis with you.
Absolutely. It will be my pleasure. Due to coronavirus, obviously we're all stuck at home. And it has been a long time, since I have the opportunity to just sit down with someone and just talk about Lange an hour straight. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, I can't wait till we can get you to Philly. You'll love it here, and we'll talk Lange all day, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Terrific. All right. Well, thanks, Al. I appreciate it. This has been great.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Take care.